Hey, welcome to part 2 of the Cork canvas shoes. So in this part, I made the first version of the shoe. I'm actually really into it. I just want the shoe to come up a bit higher on my butt. So I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to change the shape of the midsole a bit, shape it down. Also, I'm going to remake the pattern. I'm pretty excited about what I have going on in terms of the pattern for the upper. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to refine it just a bit by removing the seam from the toe. I thought it was a cool finish, then I made it and I was like, not so much. So rather than rewrap the whole shoe, what I'm doing here is I'm just joining my two pattern pieces on a piece of legal paper, and then what I'm going to do is recut the upper. And yeah, but other than that, I feel like I got the right notes of my design right. I got the right feel and the midsole that I wanted. I feel like the instep is perfect. So just a few little tweaks and I'll be fine. So because I'm making a change to this pattern, I really want to see what my material is like before I redesign the pattern. To make it a bit faster to redesign, what I'm going to do is scan my pattern into my computer. I'm actually using Inkscape. And what I'm going to do is use Inkscape to manipulate the pattern. If you do this, one way to make sure that everything is scaled properly is to scan your pattern with a ruler on the scanning bed. So it makes it a lot easier to align everything and make sure that the scale that you're working in your image editor is actually the proper human scale. So super easy cheesy way to do it is to just take a ruler and slap it on the scanning bed. So here what I'm doing is I'm just drawing some lines around, and I'm actually going to redo this process in a second because I discovered that I was missing part of a pattern for some reason. But that black bar that you see there is representative of the zipper embellishment that I have on this shoe. So yeah, here we go, back with the image editor. I like using Inkscape. You can use Adobe Illustrator, Vector, it's fine. You can even use Photoshop or GIMP. Any one of those is totally fine. The real key to all of this is making sure that you're working in the correct scale, and making sure that an inch on the screen is an inch in real life. That's all you really gotta do. And by the way, I have a cat named Schmeek. He's awesome. And throughout this video, you're going to notice Schmeek in the upper right corner. He's going to be ringing a bell. I felt that it was important to my cat owner-guardian relationship to teach him how to ring a bell so that I know when he's hungry. So that's what's going on with the cat throughout this video. He's very talented. Cool. So once I've aligned my zipper and the pattern and everything, I'm going to go ahead and cannibalize the first version of the shoe. I realized that I only bought 2 of these zippers, and the place that I bought them from, they don't have any more. So yeah, I'm just going to rip that guy out. Why not? By the way, I'm using a pair of specialized scissors to cut through some of this material. I use super thick thread for this portion, so I'm not plucking things out with just like my finger using like this weird snippy pair of snips. But yeah, I would say in the future, if I do another similar style of shoe, I'm going to buy some decoy zippers. You know, why not? Cool. So I printed out my pattern, and I'm just going to cut it out of the canvas. And I'm actually going to add some extra seam allowance. If you watched part 1 of these Cork canvas shoes series, one of the notes that I had was I used a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which was a terrible idea on this specific kind of canvas. So what you're seeing me do now is trace my pattern onto the canvas, and then I'm going to add like a lot of seam allowance throughout the pattern. I'm also going to add like a 2-inch seam allowance, I guess, around the edges of the upper. I'm doing that for 2 reasons. Wow, the first version, I dramatically underestimated the amount of extra wiggle room I needed as I formed the canvas over the last. And 2, it dawned on me that there's actually a technique that I use in sample making all the time that I can apply here, which is sewing in a drawstring alongside the toe of the upper. Also, what I'm doing here is I'm cutting out the shape of the upper out of buckram as well. So this is my second layer of material. Many moons ago, I used to be a milliner, which is a hat maker. So in millinery, you use buckram a lot. You can also use it in shoemaking. It is wonderful. When you're working in leather, leather can be kind of stiff and have a lot of body. When you're working in fabric like canvas, not so much. So adding a layer of buckram underneath the canvas as a stabilizer is awesome because it'll help support the canvas and give it shape and give it a lot of body. So what I'm doing here is I'm just selecting like the right kind of presser foot for my sewing machine and the right thread. And yeah, let me make sure I have that going on. Cool. So what I've done is I've used like a very common like welt pocket technique to actually put in my zipper. So setting everything up this way is awesome. Dealing with the buckram and canvas first, and then adding in the zipper is the best way to get the finish that I want. And I think the video of this whole process was something like 6 hours, and then I had to speed it up like crazy to get it down to something like manageable. So this little interlude, I'm probably feeding the cat or getting him to stop eating something. I'm not sure, but oh, what I'm doing now is I'm actually making the starch mixture. So to make the starch that I use to stiffen the shoe, it is 1 part starch to, I believe, 5 parts water. And in this step, what I'm doing is I've stitched in my drawstring around the upper, and now I'm just cutting out the heel out of both buckram and canvas. Once those are put together, then my next step is to sew that onto the heel, and then I'm going to shape the canvas and the buckram together and get ready to put them onto the last. And also, I think what I'm going to do before I put the starch on is at some point I reshaped the midsole. I'd actually reshaped the left foot of the midsole, and I'm really actually in love with that shape. So likely I'm sort of getting like the delicate things out of the way before I get to that part, because it tends to be really messy. So I've stitched in my zipper, I've stitched in my drawstring, stitched in the heel, And I'm probably looking for the Dremel at this point. Okay, so here's just like a dry fitting. Okay, cool. So yeah, so in this step, I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna reshape my midsole, and I'm gonna check on my starch mixture, make sure that's getting going. So yeah, so I'm just taking the midsole that I had before, I'm just kind of reshaping that. It gets really messy to do it this way. At the same time, it's a lot faster than trying to like carve it down with like the skimmer, because that's kind of a pain in the butt. Always wear your goggles. Yes, I did get kind of annoyed at the dust and just started trimming it directly over the vacuum. Look at how little cleanup there is after that. That's awesome. That's why you do it. I need to get like a vacuum table or something. Okay, so here what I'm doing is I'm hammering in the midsole to the last. So I really want to make sure the midsole stays steady, because now that I'm pretty sure I've got the shape that I want, I just need it to be stationary so that in next step, after forming everything, I've got to glue everything up, and I need that midsole to stay where it is for the glue up. So now is the fun part. So I'm gonna wrap my last in plastic wrap, and then I'm just gonna coat it in starch. Look at that starch, the delicate starch mixture. And I'm using a lot of starch. It's got to be like super starch. I've got like big plans for this design, and part of those plans rest on the upper being super stationary. Like, it's got to be stiff. It's like, I don't want it to be like too stiff, but it needs to have some body. And the best way to give this canvas body is between the buckram and the starch. It should be behaving quite like leather at this point. That's really what I'm going for here. And yeah, okay, and here's the big advantage to putting that drawstring in, sewing it in before putting it on the last, is I get a really even gathering and even tensioning right around the toe area. Now, for the instep, between like the instep and like, I guess the outstep on the other side, I do need to use a curved needle to just sort of like pull things in, but only in that specific area, because the drawstring at the toe has really resolved a lot of potential issues in terms of the shape being what I want it to be. I don't want it to be super perfectly smooth. I also don't want the toe of the shoe to be like janky. So the drawstring method, I find, has really given me exactly what I'm looking for in this shoe. And I'm really stoked about it. It's good. It's good. I'm super excited about this shoe. All right, so now that I've got everything on the bottom totally secure, this is the process that just takes forever to dry. So yeah, I'm posting these videos every time I do something with this shoe. So if you're like, oh my god, where is it? It's not done yet. It's because I'm still working on it. Sorry. Art takes a minute. So yeah, I just gotta coat it in starch, and just be patient. It looks good. I'm excited about this shoe. Stay tuned for part 3. That is a sexy shoe. Look at that shoe. Look at that shoe. Look at the shoe.